So I was just notified that the Department of Agriculture requires I pay $4,000 plus or minus. I guess I'll explain all that. So as you know, Carolyn and I have, 16 chickens. We just got a rooster. Everybody wants to know how the rooster's doing. As you probably remember, we had a rooster, but he got so big that when he jumped down from his roost, he broke his leg. So we didn't have a rooster to incubate this year. So we went out and bought one. I forget what we paid, $10 for it. Some family down the road had a bunch of chickens and they didn't want the rooster that they got. They ordered females, hens, but ended up getting a rooster with it, so they sold it to us. But he's not mating with the chickens right now. So it doesn't look like we're gonna get to incubate chickens this year. It really is disappointing because it puts us behind on our schedule. We wanted to have 3 age groups of chickens. One that we can butcher this year, then the next one, which would be 2 years old, and then a new flock this year that would be able to lay eggs through the molt. So our cycle would be that the youngest chickens would live 3 years and then we would butcher them. But it's just not working out this year. And we also had a dog attack. As you remember, I have windows. Right now I got blankets on this. That's from the winter time to help keep them warm. We had a tarp over it. Right now I'm just kind of letting these blankets dry out. They got a little damp. So we'll let them dry out and then we'll fold them up. But I had windows on this and the dog ripped the windows off on Thanksgiving and got 9 of our chickens. So we would have had a lot more chickens this year already. And that group would have been butchered this year. So we only got one group. I thought about just going and buying more chickens, but I don't want to do that. We'll just have to suffer through this winter and not get as many eggs as what we were accustomed to getting. We are getting about 12 eggs a day and we're eating everything that we get. We're carnivores. So every day for lunch or brunch, I get 4 eggs. I think she's eating 4 eggs. And then when we get too far behind, we'll go ahead and have eggs for supper. Well, we were kind of hoping we could do that or continue to do that through this winter, but we won't be able to. But we started out with a group of chickens and it was a learning process. I say learning process, Carolyn and I both have raised chickens in the past, but we had to build our setup and we really tried to do it as inexpensively as possible. Now for YouTube, I built this chicken coop. I'm pretty proud of the chicken coop. It's got a roost in it. We used grapevines that we got out of the woods and they can roost on it. It's got a nesting box. We got 2 chickens in there right now nesting, laying their eggs. I think there's 4 nesting boxes that they can get in. And it's all metal, it's pretty solid. Of course, we had those windows in there. That was because YouTubers, commenters wanted windows in it. But we took the windows out after the dog attack. So it's all metal now. There's no windows. Oh, that's already dry. That's nice. Great. And I was able to build this relatively cheaply. Like I said, I did it for YouTube. Otherwise, I would have done something different. But maybe $200 I have invested in this. And it's on wheels. And originally, we were able to tow this around behind the lawnmower. But our chicken run just wasn't doing as well as I had hoped. It was a portable chicken run made out of PVC pipe. We could pick it up and move it. But dogs were able to get into it just way too easy. So we had to think of something different. Well, I had a family member bring up one of those tents that you see at yard sales, and they're just little canopies. They're not really a tent, it's just got a roof on it. He let us use it on our porch until I got a porch roof on. As you know, we were building a tiny house and we got the porch but no roof. And Carolyn wanted to use the porch to cook on, so we needed a roof, but I wasn't going to build the roof until the following spring. Well, he just happened to have this thing laying around. He brought it up. Well, once we built the roof on the porch, we didn't have any use for this canopy anymore. Well, Carolyn says, well, why don't we just replace the chicken run that we got that the dogs can get into so easily with that thing? So that's what we did. Well, that meant that pretty much the portability of this whole thing went away. So we locked it down. Of course, you can still see remnants of the old PVC, but there is the canopy. Of course, those canopies are just useless, the canvas. So we got this white tarp. Oh, and this white tarp is so much better. I think it's called rhino tarp. You can buy them off Amazon. Get the white, because some reason the white doesn't degrade in the sun. But it protects the chickens from the eagles. We have bald eagles here, and the hawks and the rain. They seem to really enjoy it. But as our flock grew, we needed more room. And the idea is you need 10 square feet of chicken run. I think that's right. Yeah, 10 square feet per chicken. As our flock grew, we had to get more of those canopies, and they weren't that expensive. You can find them pretty cheap everywhere. Facebook Marketplace. And of course, you're just gonna have to buy the tarp because those canvas is junk. That's our rooster, you can hear him. But I wish he would actually mate with the chickens. Yeah, I guess he's just still too young. Oh well. So we ended up getting 3 total of those canopies. That gives us 300 square feet. That means we can have 30 chickens. Well, like I said, we only have 17 right now, 16, I forget. I just forget because of the rooster count. I got lost on the count with the rooster. But like I said, we wanted to have up to 30. Now the other thing we did is when we're raising new chickens, you want to keep them separated from the older chickens, because the older chickens will just beat them to death. We bought this IBC tank, and this makes for a nice chicken coop for the little ones until they're old enough to get into the big one here. And as you can see, we got more grapevines here that they can roost on. I put a wire through it so it doesn't roll on them. It goes all the way through, and then there's a little door at the front. Well, it's closed off now because we don't have any little chickens. And like I said, this is good just for the little ones. It's not big enough to hold too many. This is what saved us from losing all our chickens from that last dog attack, was the little ones were in here. And they were just getting ready to get moved. I mean, within the next week, maybe, they were laying eggs in here. So they were getting old enough to lay eggs, and so we were getting ready to move them. But the thing is, the big chickens were still picking on them. So we were trying to introduce them real slow, let them mingle during the day, and give them a chance where they can run back into their own home and that kind of stuff. So we were getting there, but fortunately they were in here when the dog got in there. So it was just a miracle that happened. And then we have this coroplast cover inside. They seem to like this for some reason. They hang out in here a lot. I guess they feel more protection. I don't get it. The whole thing protects them. They can pretty much stay anywhere. But on this side, we don't have that canvas or the tarp. We just put this here. It's a plastic thing, ventilated, but this just keeps the bald eagles out. The rain goes right through it, the snow, everything goes through it. Carolyn seemed to like that a lot, so that's just for this one. And we put it on this one because we have the coroplast cover here. So when we're raising the little ones, if they want to run in the rain, they can come up under here for protection. Gives them plenty of room. I don't know, it all seemed to work pretty nicely. I thought it was nice. Well, over time, obviously, with so much snow, and this last winter, I usually come down when it snows and knock the snow off, just so it doesn't collapse on me or anything. I mean, it's just something you got to do. I don't care what you got. I'm sure, unless you build it out of iron or cedar, it's going to collapse. So I'd knock it down. But for some reason, a very small snow, I guess it was just really wet and heavy, collapsed these canopies. Not a huge deal. I mean, I was able to lift it back up and prop it up. But Carolyn wanted to build something a little bit more sound and pretty, and she wanted to be able to raise some vegetables and different things. So she started building this little project with the cedar trees. And I got cedar trees everywhere. So she's been cutting them with the Sawzall and just making this decorative design, but it also is bracing the canopy, the original canopy. She's got it all wire tied up to the canopy, so that should be able to hold the snow weight now a little better in case I miss it. And then she's got vegetables for the chickens. These are all the vegetables. I forget whether they're green beans or cabbage, but this is all for the chickens. Since we're carnivores, we don't eat this stuff. And when it grows, they can come over here and actually eat it right off the vine, because it'll grow up onto the cedar. And now the cedar won't rot. It'll last forever. Now Carolyn, I tell you, Carolyn's been doing a lot of projects around here. Right now she's building that little shed. She wanted to stop this project and work on the shed. She won't let me help her. I mean, this is really strange. This is the first year that she's been doing all this and she doesn't want any help. I think what it is she's starting to worry about her age and she wants to get more active. And I have this tendency to see that if she's struggling with something, I'll just say, oh, I can do that. And I'll take it over. I don't mean to, I just want to help her. She's been doing these projects. Last night she was working on the shed and it was starting to get dark. Well, I didn't think that she would actually be working on it after dark. I figured she went and visited with her son. So I didn't question anything, I didn't come out. She comes back in the house and I got where I couldn't get the screws in and it was falling down and she needed my help and I just didn't know. I felt terrible. She was hoping I would come down and find out what was wrong with her. But like I said, I thought she was visiting with her son. So it's not pretty. The chicken run, the chicken coop and all that, it's not pretty. But I feel like it's very durable and good for these chickens. And I don't think chickens necessarily look at their environment and think, this is pretty, I want to live here, or, oh, this is ugly, I want to move. I don't think chickens think in those kind of terms. I think they think more like, I need food, and I need sleep, and I don't want eagles eating me. So that's kind of what I thought, but apparently that's not true. So I was just notified that I got to spend $4,000 in order to upgrade this. Now here's my philosophy. Here's the reason I did most everything we've done is, why are you raising chickens? Well, we want to raise chickens to supplement our food or make it actually maybe our primary food source. But you got to figure eggs, yes, I know they went up in price, but when does eggs start justifying the cost that you've put into them? You see it on Facebook all the time in these groups, off-grid groups. Yep, spent $4,000 to get 99 cents worth of eggs. And that is true. People will way overspend on their chicken coops to get some eggs. And I just don't understand that philosophy. So if I can get I see this on those groups also, a trampoline. People get trampolines and they put them out there for their chickens, put fencing around it. That gives them plenty for, a small flock, and they get their eggs, and you can get those for free off Facebook Marketplace. Otherwise, why don't I just go to the store and buy eggs? And I know what people will say. Well, farm fresh eggs are much healthier than store-bought eggs. Well, okay, then I got a rebuttal to that. If you're worried about health, buy the store eggs and get off the carbohydrates and processed foods. People eat so much processed foods and then say, I want to eat healthy, so they buy chickens and spend $4,000 on chickens. I was figuring this up. Let's say you want to sell eggs. Let's say I'm getting a dozen eggs a day. So that's 7 dozen a week, and I can sell them for $3 a dozen. So I'm getting about, what, $21 for a dozen eggs. Let's just say it's $20 for eggs each week. I sell those eggs. It's going to take me 5 weeks to make $100. What price does the $4,000 chicken coop start to pay for itself? Well, the answer is never. It's never going to pay for itself. Unless you're raising a farm. We got a farm over here where we bought our first set of chickens. She sells chickens and ducks and rabbits and pigs, just all kinds of things. And so she has a pretty nice setup. And it's pretty. But she didn't make it pretty for the farm animals. She made it pretty for the people who are going to come over to her property and want to buy chickens. I just need eggs, and as long as the chickens are not being abused or unhappy, and I think they're quite happy. They eat and they're not miserable. I mean, even the roosters leave them alone, and usually that's what makes the hens so miserable, is the rooster. The rooster just terrorizes the hens, especially if you got two. So we got a rooster now who's not even mating with them. See, he pretended. I don't know if you saw that. He pretended, but as soon as she walked away, he stopped. So I got a comment that says, I'm with the Department of Agriculture and you are in violation of state law. So I guess agriculture is state, I don't know. That you have to have proper licensings and proper setup and be inspected to raise chickens. Well, I Googled this and I'm like, oh, what kind of license do I need? And I'm trying to figure this out because, of course, I'm on YouTube and it's just everybody wants to come down on the YouTuber, you know, some sort of crime to be on YouTube, apparently, because everybody's after you all the time. So I'm looking and looking, and there's just nothing that says that I got to have special licensing. The only licensing I need is from the federal government if I'm selling eggs across state lines. Well, I don't sell eggs, and I learned my lesson a long time ago, years ago. Some department or agency, FDA or somebody came by and said I had to have license to sell eggs. Well, I just stopped. I don't sell eggs. I eat, they're my own eggs. They're happy, they're well fed. They probably get a better diet than most chickens. I will tell you, people will spend a fortune, millions of dollars to save a dime. So if you'll click this up next box, it'll take you to a video where I was talking about the solar panels. So I hope I can inspire you to live free so you can live your dreams. Thanks for watching.